I want to bring in Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman now because we got Bidenomics, but I want to start with something you're writing about. Beware the bipartisan infrastructure scare quote deal. What's that about?
Sure. This thing seems to be falling apart just 24 hours after Biden stood outside the White House with a group of Republican and Democratic senators and said, we have a deal. So the thing that Republicans are objecting to, and this is hardly surprising, is that Biden has also said, well, I'm going to sign this bipartisan infrastructure deal, but only if I get a separate bill that has all the stuff in it that Democrats want that Republicans won't agree to. So Republicans feel they're kind of being used here. And I think this deal is on very, very shaky footing.
Well, Rick, when you talk about the deal, go ahead, Jared.
Sorry about Sean. Well, this week in Bidenomics, you're writing about the dubious infrastructure pay-fors, and that's another scare quote. What do you mean by that?
The pay-fors are where the funding comes from. So this is supposedly a $1.2 billion bill, but it's not a bill yet. It's just a framework. There's no text. You can't read the bill. I guess it's just written on a napkin somewhere in the White House. But most of this has to be funded according to the budget rules in Congress. And the Republicans will not agree to the tax hikes on businesses and the wealthy that Biden wants. And Biden would not agree to an increase in the gasoline tax, which the Republicans wanted. So there are no tax hikes in here. And somehow they're going to magically raise all this money without tax hikes. So what they want to do is better IRS enforcement to go after tax evaders. That will get a little bit of money. Then there's other stuff like sell oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And there's this other one called allow states to sell unused toll credits. And it makes me think like the next thing they're going to do is start taking government computers down to the pawn shop and see if they can get 100, 150 bucks for them. So these are just typical budget gimmicks along the lines of eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think this just indicates this is not that serious of an effort. It almost seems like both sides kind of know this might not happen.
Well, if this doesn't happen, do you think that this would be a big failure for President Biden, or could this be potentially something that he wants? He tried for the bipartisan deal. They didn't get it, so they're going to push forward the bigger package with just the Democrat support.
Biden is going for a bipartisan deal, not because he thinks that's the best way to get the things that he prioritizes. He did run as a moderate, saying, I know those guys on the other side of the aisle, I can work with them. And I think he wants to at least sort of talk the talk on bipartisanship because he thinks that's important to some moderate or centrist voters. But if Biden says he's willing to have a bipartisan deal, but then the whole thing falls apart and Democrats end up putting everything into one giant bill that will only get 50 or 51 Republican votes in the Senate, which would be good enough. I don't think Biden would mind that at all. It's probably the better way to get all the stuff that he wants instead of getting a few things on a bipartisan basis with the Republicans and then having to find another venue for the other stuff. And by the way, the other stuff is about 3 times as much money as what would be in this bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Yeah, lots of horse trading there. And I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about your garden, Rick. Maybe next week we'll have time for that. Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman, thank you for joining us.
At least.
Yeah, all summer.